Hey, hello, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. It is a lovely Saturday morning here. It looks like we're going to have another lovely day here in Reading. But I'm going to keep inside most of the day because I'm heading to the Vintage Vinyl weekend. It's now 7:30 and I'm waiting for the bus. They're opening the doors at 9, if I'm not mistaken. But I like to be there in time, not just to be amongst the first in line, but to chat with some of the participants in this Vintage Vinyl weekend. So let's head into Reading now. Okay, we are now in Reading and I'm closing in on Harry's Arcade where the sound machine is. So we got it up here. Here it is. I'm so excited. Let's see what they got. What a great event. And I mean, previous years has always been great. This is one of the highlights for me during the year. Just to compare it to something, and I said this in my previous episode, this is my kind of a record store day. And I know it's not record store day, it's Vintage Vinyl Weekend, but I think you know what I mean. It's just that feeling, that anticipation before it. What am I going to find in there? Because in contrast to, for example, Record Store Day, you don't get a big list of here are the records that you can expect to find in here. No, they do give us some glimpses, some teasers here and there on Instagram and Facebook, for example, of what we might find. But like I said, those are just glimpses. And waiting in line this morning, for example, you stand there with your fellow record collectors who talk about music. You meet some new people there. You meet some familiar faces as well. We only see each other once a year, and that's usually for this weekend. But it's such a great experience every time. And we look through the windows as well before they open, and you're like, oh, I think I can see that record. Oh no, look at that one. And once again, it's just a glimpse, but I love that anticipation of just waiting. What might I find in there? And previous years, walking into these ones, it's very overwhelming. You're like, where am I going to start? There's so many records in here, so you spend a lot of time in there. But when the doors open this year, my mind was blown. It was such a huge collection of records this time around. And they did promise us that this would be one of the best Vintage Vinyl weekends so far. And boy, did they deliver. This was really, really great. And to my understanding, they did buy collections from people who used to work or might work in the music industry still, who knows. But they did receive a lot of promos throughout the years, some unique editions from record companies and so forth and so on. So these are the collections that we now can see and buy in the Sound Machine. And the quality of these ones, let me tell you, it is great. And I spoke about this one in my previous episode, talking about Vintage Vinyl Weekend, that the Sound Machine is always the standard of the vinyl and the CDs or whatever it might be is really high. It's in really good conditions usually, and if it's not, they always make a point of putting a sticker on them or something like that, just telling us that the sleeve or whatever might be worn and so forth and so on. But the standard is always really high, and that is in my experience. And walking in today, all the records that I bought and all the records that I looked at, they looked like they never, ever been played or really handled. That's how good the standard was on these records this time around. And, well, it does make sense if you think about it, because if you're working in the music industry and you get a lot of records from the record companies throughout the years, you won't play everything, right? Because you would put them in a storage somewhere, or you put them on a shelf, and they've probably never been played. And if they ever been played, perhaps just once, who knows? But that was my perception of most of the records that you can pick up at the Sound Machine this time around. It was just great. And also, as I mentioned before, you get to meet a lot of the fellow record collectors there, but the staff as well in the Sound Machine, as ever, stellar. Just top notch. And if I haven't already said it, I will say it now. I am in no way, shape or form paid to promote this at all. This is not a paid promotion at all. This is just me talking about the feelings about Vintage Vinyl Weekend and my favorite record store here in Reading. Because once again, I think it's so important that we do support our independent record stores all over the world, wherever it might be, how many there might be. That's just what we need to do. But now to the burning question. Did I get anything from Vintage Vinyl Weekend? Well, of course I did. What a stupid question, I asked myself. Of course I did. We'll start out with these ones. It's a couple of ABC records. One of my favorite albums from 1980s is The Lexicon of Love by ABC, produced by Trevor Horn. And for some reason, I only have that album in my collection, along with a special remix of The Look of Love. and I'm not too fond of that remix, but those are the only ones in my collection. Really weird, right? Because they released a couple of really nice 12 inches as well, like this one. This is Poison Arrow, of course, from ABC. And I think it only contains Poison Arrow, and I think it's the album version or the single version. But what really appealed to me when it comes to this one is that it includes a theme from Mantrap, and it also includes Mantrap, the lounge sequence version. And I don't have them on any record so far, and I love them from the movie The Mantrap as well. So yeah, I picked this one up, once again, in really good condition. And also this one, here we go, The Look of Love. Finally, I got the original 12-inch, and this is a 4-parter, so you get part 1 and 2 on A side, and on the B side 3 and 4. And these are really nice remixes as well, a lot of orchestral arrangement that you won't hear in the standard version of it, so to speak. So yeah, it's a really nice mix, and of course it's Trevor Horn on the mix, so can't really fault it. It's really, really good. And from some 80s pop over to some 80s industrial music from Laibach, this Slovenian group that I've been talking about in one of my earlier episodes here on my channel. I really, really like the album they released, I think in 1985, called Nova Acropola. It's a really weird, haunting kind of album. But I'm fascinated by it, and when I bought that, I think in 86 or 87, I was perplexed, mesmerized, a bit scared, everything at once. All the feelings you could think of came over me when I was listening to it. But it's one of my go-to classic industrial albums, really. And at the same time, I picked up the 12-inch for one of the album tracks called Die Liebe. And that one is a standout track from the album, and so is this. This is Panorama and Decree from that same album, and I'm really curious because I haven't had the time to listen to these ones yet. I just came home from Vintage Vinyl Weekend, but I remember on Die Liebe it just said Die Liebe. It didn't say that it was a remix or anything like that, but when you listen to it, it's quite a different version from the album version. So we'll see if this one is different as well, but it doesn't really matter. If it's just the album version, I'm glad. It's such a great track. And now I can say that I completed that part of my Laibach collection from, I would say, 84 to 85. Because I think this one came out in 84. Yes, it did. And yeah, so I'm really glad to have picked up this one. Some industrial music. It's good from time to time for your soul. Another great album that I picked up is something that I kept an eye on for the last month or so. It's going to be reissued, or already been reissued, I think, by Cherry Red. It's Toyah, and it's Toyah on Tour, Warrior Rock. This is a double live album. Recorded at the Hammersmith Odeon in London in 1982, in July of 1982. It's a great live album, and like I said, Cherry Red is either going to re-release it or already released it, and I thought about buying it, but now I found the original and it was a no-brainer. £8 as well, so, and in great condition as well. So yeah, got Toyah as well, and that's a band, Toyah. And Toyah Willcox hasn't done her solo career at this point yet, so it's a band. And now it's scattered showers here, over to the 1990s and some great electronica from Electronic. This is actually a 12-inch that I had in my collection at some point, but it's no longer with me, and I don't know what really happened to it. Perhaps someone lent it to me, I lent it out to someone, sorry, and I never got it back. That could be the case. However, it's a welcome return. Electronic getting away with it. What a great song, and a great 12-inch. Some really great mixes on that one, so I'm really glad to pick that one up. And this one, Blancmange, don't tell me. This one I talked about, I think it was in my latest retrospective of 1984. I was saying what a great song it is, but unfortunately it's not in my collection. and I can proudly say it is. Yes. And now we'll speed this up over some Prince. I do have most of the 12 inches from his outstanding album Around the World in a Day, but I was sorely missing this one. But now I can say I completed the collection for that album as well. This is of course Raspberry Beret. I heard an extended version of this one. It doesn't say it's extended anywhere on this one, but I have a sneaky suspicion it is. Anyhow, I'm really glad to have it in my collection. It's such a great one, right? And another Prince record as well. This is another one that I used to have in my collection, and it's just strangely disappeared from it. Who knows what happened, but now I can welcome it back. Prince and the Revolution. Kiss, of course, a classic track. I love this extended version of it. It might not be my favorite song from the Parade album, but yeah, it's still pack a punch, right, as they say. And the B-side is not bad at all. Love or Money. Yeah, so really glad to have picked that one up. And now over to another favorite artist of mine. It's Madonna. I found two 12 inches from her. I have a lot of Madonna singles in my collection, but lo and behold, I never had this one. This is Material Girl, of course, from like a Virgin album. I do have a remix track of this one on, I think it was Angel on the B-side. It's a Japanese issue. Do you call it Japanese? Yeah. Or 12-inch from Japan. Let's say that. That was your Swinglish for today. Well, probably not the first. But anyhow, Material Girl, it's a Jelly Bean Dance remix, a 6-minute one, and you got Pretender on the B-side. Like I said, I don't have this one in my collection. I think I now also completed the Like a Virgin singles as well for my collection. I have most of Madonna's singles actually that she released. Another one that I only had on 7-inch so far, it's Justify My Love. It was a single only, it never appeared on any of her studio albums. You could pick up the Immaculate collection, which I think was released in the early 90s or something like that. It was included on that one, but I never had the William Orbit remix, and now it's also in my collection. So really glad for that one. And I've never been a big fan of Sting or The Police really, so they never found their way into my collection. But there was one song that Sting released in the 80s that I was really fond of. I really like the lyrics to it. It's a really nice track. That's it, yeah. This is Sting and Russians. Yeah, I really like that. It was very much of its time with the Cold War, and the lyrics, like I said, are great. But yeah, unfortunately, I think this is very much of our time as well today, because we're living in a very weird world, aren't we? So we could listen to Russians and recognize ourselves in 2024. But anyhow, I'll go from that gloom to say, really great one, and I'll welcome Sting into my record collection as well. And then we'll go over to another favorite band of mine, Madness. This is Cardiac Arrest, and this is, as you can see, the extended 12 version. I've come across this one before, but it's only been in a company sleeve, like a stiff generic sleeve, no picture sleeve. So I was really pleased when I found this one, and once again in really good condition. And you also get In the City on the B-side, and I love this artwork as well. But most of all, a really great extended version of that one. So welcome to my collection. And here we got some Bronski Beat as well. I sadly only had one Bronski Beat record in my collection so far, and it's the great album Age of Consent that came out in 1984, where this track is also featured, if I'm not mistaken. I Feel Love. I think it's one of the last tracks on that one. Anyhow, this is a 12-inch, of course. It's Bronski Beat with Mark Almond, and it is a great cover of the Donna Summer, Giorgio Moroder, I Feel Love. Yeah, I love this version, and yeah, really great. And I promised you more Bronski Beat, and you could actually say, why didn't I have this one in my collection before? This is such a great track, also included on the album Age of Consent. This is the extended mix of Why, and it is a brilliant mix. So, and I come across this one before, but for some reason I never picked it up. But today was the day when I welcomed Why with Bronski to my collection. Really good. And now over to the 90s again. We are looking at the electronic dance scene and all of that. This is a Future Sound of London. We have Explosives. Really good track. I became familiar with this one when I was playing Wipeout on my PlayStation in the 90s, and then a bit later I came across some of the remixes, and the Mantronix remix, which is included on this one, it's called Mantronic Plastic Formula #1, is included on this one, and that is my favorite remix. But there is also a bunch of other remixes on this one, which I'm looking forward to listen to. I don't think I've heard any of the other ones, but yeah, what an outstanding track from the Future Sound of London. If you haven't heard this one and you're fond of some 90s dance music, it's a killer for sure. And more Future Sound of London. I would say this is the first record that I listened to the first time I came aware of Future Sound of London. I would say this is a classic in that genre. This is Papua New Guinea, and a bunch of remixes on this one. I never had the 12-inch of this one before. I have the Accelerator album, I think it was called Accelerator, where Papua New Guinea is included on. But here you get the original 12-inch, the long Andrew Weatherall mix. It's 11 minutes long, along with 5 other mixes. There's a bunch of remixes on this one, so really looking forward to listen to those ones as well. It is an outstanding track. In contrast to, we have Explosive. This is more laid back, more chilled. Yeah, it's such a great track. Classic indeed, a classic. And last but absolutely not least, the innovators, the originators, Kraftwerk. This is from 2003, Tour de France. They have just been releasing Tour de France soundtracks. It's one of their best albums, in my opinion. Love that album. But I never picked up any of the 12 inches or the CD singles that were released at that point for some reason. But now I can say that I have this one. And it does include 4 tracks. So you got Tour de France 03, which I might suspect is similar to the album track, and then we have the long distance version 2, which is nearly 8 minutes long, and I've heard this one before, and it's really good. And then on the B-side we have something called version 1 and version 3, and they are shorter versions, around 3 or 4 minutes. And I'm really curious to listen to those ones, because are they iterations of the original track? Really, you could say that all of these are iterations of the original track from 1983. But are these, I should rephrase that, are these some of the mixes that were released in 1983? Well, I'll just have to wait to see. I will go listen to them. Yeah. So that's what I picked up, but I have a sneaky suspicion that I will come back tomorrow on Sunday, because the Sound Machine, of course, is open now when it's vinyl, vintage vinyl weekend, on both Saturday and Sunday. They're usually closed on Sundays otherwise, but this weekend they're open all weekend. And I think if you have a passion for music, or collecting records, whatever it has to do with music, do yourself a favor and visit the Sound Machine in Reading. You won't regret it. Believe me, if whatever genre you're into, I think you will walk out with a gem, a nugget from that place. And of course it's called Vintage Vinyl Weekend. It won't end this weekend, it's just that it kicks off this weekend, but they will continue, of course, selling these records yeah, in weeks and months. So yeah, do yourself a favor, go to Sound Machine, absolutely. But that's it. I am going to listen to my new records now, and I will thank you all for once again tuning in to my channel. I'm eternally grateful for each and every one of you, all my subscribers, and all of you who puts a like on my videos as well. So if you don't mind, if you like this video or what you're seeing here, put a thumbs up, and if you really like what I'm doing and would like to see more in the future, why not subscribe? It would help my small channel immensely, and you know, all the other bells and whistles that we have here on YouTube. Yeah, but that's it. Until next time, folks, you all take care of yourself, and as usual,